Well, as we've shown you, Who Dat Nation is out full force. Whether they're in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, all the way over here, that's for sure. They are here and ready. They've been waiting a long time. Well, Drew Brees has long understood that football is more than just a game, and sports can do more than merely entertain. In New Orleans, Brees is delivering hope to his city, staging a revival after Hurricane Katrina. He's done it with his embracing the city immediately upon his arrival, and, of course, he's done it with passing the football. But of all the folks Brees has touched over the last 4 seasons, there's one boy who touched him in a way he never expected. Brees will carry this with him into Super Bowl 44. Rachel Nichols has the story.
As the final seconds come off the clock here in the Superdome, and the road to the Super Bowl continues to be through New Orleans.
It was a simple moment, barely noticed by the more than 70,000 fans who'd already started celebrating the Saints' playoff win over the Cardinals. But to the man who was taking a knee, it meant much more than just a way to run out the clock. And to a boy in a hospital bed 5 miles away, it would come to mean everything. Drew Brees met Micah Rochelle in the summer of 2007, when Micah was 9 years old and newly diagnosed with stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Our foundation, the Brees Dream Foundation, we do a fishing trip every year here in South Louisiana, and that was my first time meeting Micah.
You meet a lot of kids at hospitals and charity events. What was it about him that you connected with him?
I think Micah's outlook, just how positive he was, and inspiring. Micah was just one of those kids who had a lot of fight.
Over the next 6 months, tumors spread through Micah's body, and in December of 2007, doctors gave his mother, Valida, terrifying news.
They then told me that he had 2 weeks to live. They told me they would do their best and do whatever's needed, and we could go home on hospice. He was I guess you would say, 1 foot in the grave and 1 out.
I can't imagine that because, as a kid, it's not fair.
Brees and his wife Brittany decided they'd visit the boy they'd fallen in love with on the fishing trip.
As sick as he was, he set up for Drew Brees. So they had a ball. I
ended up sitting in his room for a couple hours and just talking and playing Nintendo Wii, in which he beat me thoroughly. I got drummed.
Oh, he was great. He's such a sweet kid, but he killed Drew in every game. It was embarrassing.
Drew spent nearly 3 hours in Micah's room. Before he left, he drew a parallel between the battles he fights on the football field and Micah's own battle with cancer.
I said, just like throughout the course of a game, there's always that adversity that you're going to face, but you always have to just kind of stay even keel and poised and confident, and just know that, if you just continue to fight, that good things are going to happen.
It was really helpful for him because he had someone to come in and say to him, you have to fight, you have to shoot for the victory.
Micah kept fighting, and much to the surprise of his doctors, by June of 2008, he'd regained enough strength to undergo a bone marrow transplant. The procedure helped him significantly, and as Micah continued to receive treatment, Drew and Brittany stayed in touch. In November, they invited Micah and Valida to the premiere of the movie The Blind Side.
I thought, what a great way to get Micah away from obviously all the treatments and get his mind off that and just go and do something fun. And he just had an unbelievable time. Got to meet Sandra Bullock. It was special.
So you were up here in his estimation before the movie premiere, and then he meets Sandra Bullock. What happened here?
Listen, she takes the cake, I'm sure, but at least I can say I introduced him.
Now 12 years old, Micah is still constantly fighting off new tumors. So last month, his doctors decided to try a second bone marrow transplant. The procedure could cure his cancer, but it also comes with big risks. If the new marrow doesn't take, Micah could end up in intensive care on a ventilator, or worse.
I couldn't imagine somebody telling me that, you know, in a day or two, you know, you're gonna have a surgery and, you know, you might not make it out okay. Just to think that the chances, you know, there are those chances, you know.
Micah went back into the hospital to start the grueling preparation required for the procedure. But one Saturday afternoon, a brief respite, the Saints beat the Cardinals. And at the end of the game, Micah watched his friend Drew take a knee. Then,
Micah,
a few days later, another visit.
you have some company just for a few minutes, okay?
What's up, Micah? What you doing, bud? All right, I brought something for you. This is an official game ball from our playoff game just from 2 days ago when we beat the Arizona Cardinals. It's one I took a knee with at the end of the game, and I immediately thought of you. I wanted to make sure that you got this football. There you go. To Micah, the strongest person I know, from me. Saints 45, Cardinals 14, January 16, 2010. So you'll always remember that game, all right, bud? Because you were what made us win. You know that, right? We felt your strength.
Micah also had a gift for Drew.
Oh, buddy, this is great. This is wonderful. This is going in my locker, all right? All right, buddy. You take care of yourself, all right? Be strong. Stay strong.
Breeze put Micah's photo up in his locker, and just before the Saints played the Vikings, Micah underwent his second bone marrow transplant, holding a special souvenir.
Oh my God, the game ball. Micah has been sleeping with the ball like he's holding a baby. During the actual transplant, the ball was in the bed with Micah.
You got your new bone marrow? Yeah.
When you talk about just the way that I approach every day, knowing that, you know, there's a kid that's fighting the fight that he's fighting each and every day. I mean, it inspires you.
He's the one, you know, in bed rooting for Drew, and you think of that. You know, you think about, okay, there's so many people that look at this game, and it's more than football. It's about living, you know.
Sometimes the simple moments aren't so simple. To a young boy fighting for his life in New Orleans, or to a quarterback now playing in the Super Bowl in Miami. Miles apart, but still close.
When you walk out on that Super Bowl field, how much is Micah going to be in your mind?
We want to win for this city. We want to win for so many people, but there's nobody that I would rather win for than Micah Rochelle.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Micah and his mom will watch the Super Bowl in his room at Children's Hospital in New Orleans. Doctors say Micah had a short bout with pneumonia post-surgery, but is now showing signs of recovery. His white blood cell counts are going up, and if it continues to progress, Micah's doctors say it will not be long before he's allowed to go home. Now, Breeze has told Micah when he's out of the hospital, he looks forward to tossing the football around together, and you know he's going to be good on that. Drew Brees, Peyton Manning. This just in, they've been pretty good since Brees became a Saint in 06. So we're just using that as a timeline with Peyton. They're tied for the most touchdown passes in football. They are 1-2 in yards passing. We could go on and on and on. So now let's bring it to Drew Brees, who we know what kind of heart he has, and anybody that didn't know it just saw it. What does Brees need to win this game, fellas? Tommy, to become an elite quarterback, and define that as you will?
Boom, first and foremost, after you see that feature, we understand that he's an elite human being, without talking about the quarterback position. But I think in order to be considered elite as a quarterback, it's a perfect kind of storm. Example, the guy that I played with, John Elway, he was elite even if he not won the Super Bowl, to me. You look at Jeff Hostetler, he won the Super Bowl. Was he elite? I think it takes, in a team game, a special set of circumstances that create the quarterback that's elite. Steve, I know that you know something about that because you were in a unique set of circumstances in San Francisco.
Yeah, no question. In fact, Tommy, you mentioned he is a great humanitarian, but he comes into this football game, as you've talked about artistry of quarterback, what it takes to drop back, deliver the football, and know and dictate the defenses and own the information. There's only a couple guys in the league, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, who really do that. I include Drew Brees in that group. So from a quarterback's perspective, amongst ourselves, I think Drew is an elite quarterback. But there's no question, as you said, Tommy, I experienced in the Super Bowl, until you win a Super Bowl, people don't feel free to tell you that you're great. I was good, and oh, Steve, you're good. When I won the Super Bowl, all of a sudden, Steve, you're great, you're great. It's an emotional attachment with the fans and the media like nothing else, and the Super Bowl does make a difference. There's no question about that, and I know you experienced that as well, Trent.
I think it's no-brainer. I think Drew Brees is an elite passer, but let's look at the quarterbacks he's played against in this decade. Tom Brady has 3 rings. The Mannings have 2 rings. Ben Roethlisberger has 2 rings. You know, Teddy, I think there's a difference between being an elite passer an elite quarterback. And I think once you win that ring, you make that transition from being an elite passer to an elite quarterback.
Yeah, when you're considered an elite passer, you pretty much have the statistics.
Yep.
But when you talk about the greatest, even of this decade, you talk about championships. And that's just the way it is when you talk about quarterbacks, the best quarterbacks. Well, who has won the Super Bowl title? And Jaws, to be in that conversation with the Bradys, the Roethlisbergers, the Mannings, Drew Brees has to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that, Teddy. Certainly Drew Brees is in this game today an elite quarterback based on what he's done over the last 4 seasons as the Saints quarterback. But there have been a lot of wonderful quarterbacks that have put up great numbers that are in the Hall of Fame. A Dan Marino, a Dan Fouts, a Warren Moon, a Jim Kelly. But when we start talking about great quarterbacks of all time, it's those quarterbacks that have the hardware, the world championships. So that puts you in the elite category of Joe Montana, Troy Aikman, Terry Bradshaw, Tom Brady. If Drew Brees can win the Super Bowl, along with all the numbers he's accumulated, he now becomes considered a great quarterback. But John, it really does start with a jewelry. To be considered great, an all-timer, you've got to have a Super Bowl championship.
Well, I disagree. I think Drew Brees is an elite quarterback. He turned around the San Diego Chargers, and he's got the New Orleans Saints in the Super Bowl. What this guy's done is phenomenal, and he's still a young guy. I send it to you, Chris Carter.
Hey, Coach, I appreciate that throw, knowing you used to throw the ball a little bit at the University of Dayton. I think he's an elite quarterback because the reason why is I've seen other elite quarterbacks who have played who do not have the hardware. Let's just mention a few. What about Kelly? What about Moon? What about Marino? All these guys were special and elite players, Key.
I think, he's an elite quarterback right now based on statistics, yes. But I think until he wins a Super Bowls, when his career is over, then people will judge him based on that. And that's just it. Too many times in sports, journalists, players, everybody say, well, he's a great superstar, or he's an icon, or he's a this. You got to look at the body of work over a lifetime to really judge a guy, in my opinion, as I like to say, Coach.
But who really judges? I mean, who's going to make the determination whether you're elite or not? Now, I've been around the game for a long, long time. If this guy is not an elite quarterback, then a lot of guys aren't. Now, I understand Super Bowl, win it, it's great for your resume. This guy is an elite quarterback. He took a franchise that had never been there, and he took them there for the second time. He took them playoffs one time, he's taking them to Super Bowl now. That is elite.
Well, I mean, to the casual fan, maybe they say, he's got to win the Super Bowl. But, I mean, these are the 2 elected starters.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I mean, they didn't play because they're in the Super Bowl, but these are so that would be elite, right?
Yeah, very quickly, there are a lot of great players who are going to play this game who are never going to appear in the Super Bowl. I have one right beside me, so don't tell me what is elite and what is not.
Dan Fouts was pretty good, wasn't he? Dan Fouts?
Yeah. Danny Fouts, yeah.
He was elite. Well, we'll see. When we return, we'll be having more than just another beer in Mexico. Kenny Chesney. Yeah, we're going to do a little football, Kenny. That's right. Stay right there. A little singing, little throwing, little tossing around. Hey, he's got roots both sides. We'll talk.
Super Bowl Sunday, a day when dreams are realized and heroes are made. The New Orleans Saints have been on a collision course with the title game all season. Can Drew Brees finally take them to the promised land? Or will 4-time MVP Peyton Manning and the Indianapolis Colts claim yet another Super Bowl championship? It's the greatest spectacle in American sport. Super Bowl 44, live from Sun Life Stadium in Miami, Florida. Tonight at midnight, CET, live on ESPN America.
Starward Preferred Guest presents a spectacular winter promotion offering up to 40% off at participating hotels across Europe, Africa, and the Middle East when paying with your MasterCard. Enjoy your stay at Sheraton, 4 Points by Sheraton, W, Aloft, Le Méridien, Westin, the Luxury Collection, and St. Regis. Book now and pay with your MasterCard. More details on spg.com/MasterCardTV.
All this month on ESPN America. The NHL's best take center ice. Looking for NHL action? The puck stops here.
They score!
ESPN America, home of the NHL.
A shot! He scores!
Catch NHL hockey live all this month on ESPN America.
Well, let's see now. We got Kenny Chesney in Saints gear with Coach Sean Payton. So obviously he's got the game plan down. Let's see. We have country singing star Kenny Chesney singing with Peyton Manning. I don't know if he's I don't even want to know. That was more than a beer in Mexico, pal. Well, we have country icon Kenny Chesney.
What's up, buddy?
You got a shirt?
Good to see you.
You got shoes? It's still no problem.
No problems. We're on the beach, though. It's good.
So tell me, sorry. So first of all, you sang at Peyton Manning's wedding. Like, well,
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't that, but
That was several years
that?
ago. I sang at Peyton and Ashley's wedding, and what was it, 96, I guess? And he and I have been friends a long time, and even when he was a junior, starting when he was a junior at Tennessee,
Right.
and we just our friendship's grown throughout the years, and now I've become really good friends with Coach Sean Payton. So I'm one of these touring guys here at Super Bowl Sunday. I've got a lot of friends on each team, and it's going to be a lot of fun for us, though.
Well, you're like the Swami. You get to ride both sides of things.
That's right.
It's a skill very few have acquired.
That's right.
You were with Coach Payton. You went to the championship game against Minnesota, and with Coach Payton afterwards. What was that whole night like? I mean, what you can recall?
Well, well, it was an incredible moment for me and for him and for the whole city of New Orleans. And I was in the locker room after the game, and I've never seen a more alive room in my life. It was absolutely incredible to be a part of it. And I've played in New Orleans a lot, and throughout the years, and grown to love that city. And I'm especially, I feel some sort of kinship with the musicians there in the town. And I tell you, I think that winning that game, when that guy hit the field goal and sent them to the Super Bowl, you could feel the whole city explode, and it's exploding here on South Beach. I'm just so excited to be here.
But you've been there in training camp, so obviously you know some of the plays, right? I mean, you saw it. Sean invited you. What was the story?
Well, a couple years ago, they actually signed me as a wide receiver, but I got cut the same day. They say it's because I was too short and too slow, but I like to tell them that we couldn't come to financial terms. So
somehow
I wanted Mr. Benson's boat, and he wouldn't give it to me.
He would shell out for the defensive coordinator, but he wouldn't shell out for you. All right, so you have a song. Do you have a song for both of the teams? Might be one of yours, might be another one.
Do I have a song for both of the teams?
You would sing, but I mean, in other words, so for the Colts, I don't know, you got a Tennessee song, right? Kind of, it's big.
Yeah,
right?
Yep.
So would that be their song today? If you were going that way, what would it be? I didn't mean to catch you off guard. And do the Saints have a song? Because you got to pick one way or the other.
Yeah.
You got to have a song for one of them, right? I mean,
yeah.
If you have a keg in the closet.
Keg in the closet.
Who is it? Who's that keg for today?
I'm going to say, as much as, like I said, I got friends on both teams, but I really believe that the Saints are going to win 34-31. And that's my prediction. Only if, I know it sounds like a cliche, but only if you give Peyton Manning extra passes, he'll kill you. So if they can't turn the ball over.
And there'll be a new song if your prediction is right. You'll be the new Swami.
All right, I'll do it.
Thank you for
joining us.
joining
buddy.
us.
Thanks for having me.
Kenny Chesney's the biggest sports fan, as I know. He also sings a pretty good tune. Maybe go see him. Mike Tirico, I think you can attest to that.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Kenny, good seeing you again. We're hanging with Kenny a little bit on our trips to New Orleans. Hey, since we're in Miami, I want to go back to some memorable Super Bowl catches. Just think back to Super Bowl V and the Colts. It was the double tip we showed you earlier. Unitas in the hands of John Mackey for a 75-yard touchdown. That maybe laid the foundation for other memorable receptions in Super Bowls here. Lynn Swann, the acrobatic great grab in Super Bowl X on the way to the MVP and a Steeler victory. Then returned 3 years later, and it's Bradshaw to Swann. Back of the end zone, 18 yards. Memorable snatch out of the air in the 35-31 Pittsburgh winning a decade later from Bradshaw to Montana off his hands. That 92-yard drive culminating with John Taylor's touchdown. San Francisco won the Super Bowl 20-16. Well, if the conversation topic is memorable Super Bowl catches, and we put 1 and 1A at the top of the list the last couple of years, especially given the time they happened very late in the game in that last minute. David Tyree doing it for the Giants and Santonio Holmes a year ago for Pittsburgh, keeping the Arizona Cardinals from their Super Bowl dream. Will somebody do that on this field today? Well, I want to go back to those last 2 catches for a couple of seconds. We know they happened, but how in the world do they happen? You've heard those words thrown out there. We're going to show you some of the science. I hope you've seen the show Sports Science on ESPN now, a great show. And John Breakus breaks down what happened with those 2 memorable Super Bowl Sunday catches.
We analyzed David Tyree's miraculous reception in Super Bowl 42 to determine how much force it took to make the catch.
It is caught by Tyree.
In total, Tyree used 70 pounds of force with his hands, 3 pounds of force with his fingers, and landed with an impact force of another 73 pounds. Which means it took a grand total of 146 pounds of force to make this catch. How does that amount of force compare to Santonio Holmes' game-winning catch for the Steelers? The best way to determine that is to bring in the man himself, Super Bowl 43 MVP, Santonio Holmes. Here in the Sports Science Lab, Santonio will recreate his textbook catch while wired up for data. Eye tracking technology will record precisely what he's looking at as he tracks the ball.
Oh, yeah, that's sweet right there.
Pressure sensors from his toes to his fingertips will measure every move as Holmes reaches full extension. How do you feel?
I feel like RoboCop.
Did Santonio Holmes use less force than David Tyree to win the Super Bowl? Time to find out. All right, here we go, guys. And 3, 2, 1, go. With uncanny precision, a product of years of practice and muscle memory, here in the lab, Santonio replicates the catch perfectly. Woo! Data from our eye tracking technology reveals that Santonio's eyes find his target by first looking above where he expects it to be, then below, before locking in on the ball. This happens in 1/10 of a second. Through a lightning-fast process called accommodation, the lens of the eye becomes more rounded as the ball approaches, allowing Santonio to maintain focus as he watches the ball into his hands. But did he use less force than Tyree? Go! The TechScan sensors inside his shoes reveal that when he drags his toes to stay in bounds, he presses down on the turf with only 20 pounds of force. In the sensors on his hands, the data tells us that this perfect catch also created 20 pounds of force on the ball. Amazingly, this Super Bowl winning catch took a total of only 40 pounds of force, and it was symmetrical, perfectly balanced between his toes and his hands. And that's 106 pounds less than the David Tyree catch. That makes this catch the smallest amount of force that has ever won the biggest game. For Sports Science on ESPN, I'm John Breakus.
John, thank you. I love that show. They do great stuff. And when they tell you keep your eye on the ball, no, keep your eye above and below the ball, and then finally focus back on the ball. Well, our receivers have their thoughts on which of the last 2 Super Bowl great catches was the best of the bunch. Tom Jackson standing by over on South Beach with a guy who, 2 guys actually have caught a ball or 2. Tommy?
They know a little bit about catching the ball, Mike. Okay, Tyree Holmes, Which one was the hardest?
I think it was David Tyree. Whenever you have a guy with force, the ball's here and you have someone pulling that down with force. CC Holmes catch. We made those catches 1,000 times in our career.
Well, you might have caught the end of the play as far as the catching the ball, locating it with your eyes. That's great the way they demoed that and getting your feet down, but picking up that ball late. One thing you don't realize, Key, he made a big catch and run earlier in that drive. David Tyree was sitting the whole game. So you're talking about impact on the game, a guy who's involved, and when he made that catch, that shut down the show. The game was over with. David Tyree, a bunch of stuff had to happen afterwards.
It was all. One thing we know, both quarterbacks today wouldn't mind having my guys. We'll be back.
Probably the greatest high athletically you could ever imagine.
Best feeling in the world. This is what football is about.
The entire world is watching.
A lot of damn people.
The electricity in the air is just unbelievable.
What's the World Championship's all about, guys? Let's go!
The Super Bowl means to me everything.
Super Bowl, baby! Boom, boom, boom!
Because all eyes are on you.
Oh, didn't see you come in. I'm Tony Reale from Around the Horn, and you're watching ESPN America, American for Sports. Sport!
Coming up shortly on ABC, 2 o'clock Eastern, the Magic at the Celtics. Dwight Howard, Vince Carter arriving. NBA Sunday Showcase coverage starts at 2 p.m. Eastern on ABC, GMC, NBA Countdown. But we're talking Super Bowl here. Super Bowl is the issue. And, boy, you tell these fans, well, the game is not for how many hours? We don't care. We're out here at South Beach. And what they want to know from everyone right now, what are the X factors? Not maybe the biggest names, but what are the X factors, Tom, in this game?
And talk about stopping the run, and that's Antonio Johnson and Dan Muir, because if you stop the run, you set up down and distance situations where you can rush the passer, and that's where the Colts really are at their best.
Tommy, you always have such an influence on me. I'm going to stay on the interior of the line, but I'm going to go with the other team, New Orleans Saints, and go with Anthony Hargrove. Talking with the NFL executive, if he didn't have the demons off the field, he would have been a top 15 pick. Watching him play in the Minnesota game, he created havoc. He played tackle, he played in. This guy plays also on the kickoff team.
It would have been a great move for me, CC, without picking this Trojan Reggie Bush as an X factor, because I think the game that he had in the divisional playoff game, he can duplicate that in the Super Bowl with a lot riding on the line. 8 million reasons why Reggie Bush can have a big game. Punt returning, special things out of the backfield.
Well, I'm going to go with a big departure. I'm going to go with Jeff Saturday for one reason. He is the quarterback of the offensive line. He makes every one of the line calls. He will be able to determine, and probably watches almost as much film as Peyton Manning does. He will make the calls of the offensive line to pick out the blitzes.
Well, Coach, you had a pretty good middle linebacker in Chicago. Is a pretty good one for the New Orleans Saints. Jonathan Vilma is going to have a huge impact in this football game. He's occupied the middle of the football field where Peyton Manning wants to attack. He might get his hands on some balls.
But Trent, my X factor is Colt tight end Dallas Clark. He's a defensive coordinator's matchup nightmare. You put a linebacker on him, he's going to get you over the top. You put a smaller safety over him, they'll run the ball. He can physically dominate him, blocking in the running game. So many mismatches he can give the New Orleans Saints defense.
Teddy, the only chance that the Saints have to win this football game is to score 5 touchdowns. The only way to score 5 touchdowns is have some big chunk plays along the sidelines. Marcus Colston is one of those big, strong guys that you can lollipop the throw up. Drew Brees is going to need 2 40, 50-yard throws to this guy that are basically jump balls that he can come down with. If without those gains, they can't score enough points.
Steve, he was my X factor in the divisionals. He was my X factor in the championship game. And I told Gary Brackett, you know you're going to be my X factor in the Super Bowl. He's always around the ball. I asked Brackett this week, how does that happen? Just instincts?
Hey, by any means necessary, get to the football. You know, I don't get paid to beat up linemen. You get paid to find the football. So do a good job of honing in on the ball and obviously going where it's going to be.
Well, we'll see who the X, Y, Z, A, B, C factors are. We got plenty more here. And then Tommy, Steve, and I, we love doing this show on the field after the game. We say 10:30, could be earlier, could be later, could be tackled by a quarterback like Ben Roethlisberger. Last year blindsided me. They didn't even throw the flag. Hey, there's another yacht. I don't know, whose is that one? Tom, we already saw yours. Key.
Big enough.
Sun Life Stadium. That's where we're all headed. We'll be back.
Coming up, they are the first family of football in the Big Easy.
That's my son there, you know, but I'm very proud of the Saints, and, you know, I live here.
But when his son faces his former team, find out where Archie Manning's loyalties lie. And delivering a super speech.
You gotta play today! You want it that much?
Our head coaches, Ditka and Gruden, have a pregame message for the Saints and Colts.
Super Bowl Sunday, a day when dreams are realized and heroes are made. The New Orleans Saints have been on a collision course with their title game all season. Can Drew Brees finally take them to the promised land? Or will four-time MVP Peyton Manning and the Indianapolis Colts claim yet another Super Bowl championship? It's the greatest spectacle in American sport. Super Bowl 44, live from Sun Life Stadium in Miami, Florida. Coverage starts next, live on ESPN America.
Starward Preferred Guest presents a spectacular winter promotion offering up to 40% off at participating hotels across Europe, Africa, and the Middle East when paying with your MasterCard. Enjoy your stay at Sheraton, 4 Points by Sheraton, W, Aloft, Le Méridien, Westin, the Luxury Collection, and St. Regis. Book now and pay with your MasterCard. More details on spg.com/MasterCardTV.
What is this guy doing?
I can't gate. The gate is narrow.
Unbelievable.
All right, hey, what do you want me to do? Just back up. I'm stuck.
It is sterling silver. It used to be known as the Titletown Trophy. It is the Lombardi Trophy presented to the Super Bowl champion. Super Bowl II, Vince Lombardi had a chance to get it for the second time. Here is Jerry Kramer's audio recording of Lombardi's pregame speech to the Packers.
You're the only team, maybe, in the history of the National Football League will ever have this opportunity to do it twice. Boys, if I were you, I'd be so proud of that. I'd just fill up. It's not going to come easy. This is a club that's going to hit you. They're going to try to hit you, and you're going to take it out of them. Just hit, just run, just block, and just tackle. If you do that, there's no question what the answer is going to be in this ball game. Keep your poise. There's nothing that they can show you out there. You have to face a number of times, right? Right.
Of course, Kramer, legendary Packer, made that audio recording, and according to Jerry, it's the first time nationally that has ever been heard. So I hope you enjoyed hearing that, and you can hear more audio of speeches at jerrykramer.com. Now, speaking of Lombardi, Lombardi's son, grandson, Joe Lombardi, is on the New Orleans Saints coaching staff, quarterback coach. He'll have the opportunity at some point after the Sean Payton, Drew Brees, if the Saints win, after they all handle it, to hold the trophy that bears his grandfather's name. Jaws, we got a coach here. We got a coach back, of course, with Mike Ditka at our main set at South Beach. I want you guys, the coaches, to think about what speeches the coaches in the Super Bowl might be making to their team. Since Coach has his Saints ties, I'm going to ask you to go first. Give me the Jim Caldwell version of the speech to the Indianapolis Colts.
Well, I think Jim Caldwell is going to appeal to the guys that have been there and won a world championship with the Colts. We got a lot of guys with Super Bowl experience. and we have got to step up today. Dwight Freeney's not going to be 100%. We're already missing Bob Standers. Step up for 60 minutes like we've done all year. Most importantly, let's take care of the football. We know the Saints are going to try to strip it away from us, but let's strip the ball away from them. Let's not do anything other than what we've done, which is take the ball away ourselves. Most importantly, let's execute around Peyton Manning. This sheriff will take us to the promised land if we pass protect, we communicate, and we make plays around them. We're the best team in pro football. Go prove it again.
You think Caldwell uses the sheriff name that you use?
I don't know. He might. It's catching on, though.
Let me bring in Coach Ditka. Mike, why don't I bring you in because you have those Saints ties? Give me the message that Sean Payton should send to his team before kick.
Well, I don't think it's about words. I really think it's about passion and what you feel in your heart. The main thing I tell this football team is we got here by believing in each other, by picking each other up no matter what happened. Now, everything that happens out there today is not going to be good. But if something bad happens, we've got to overcome it. We can only overcome it one way, not with one player, not with one coach, but as a team. We must play together as a team. Offense, defense, and special team. And believe me, gang, this game could come down to a special teams play. And I would say, hey, let's get out there and kick their you-know-what.
Yeah, but we know exactly what you'd say, Mike. You hear it there from two of the 26 men who have won the Super Bowl. Jaws, what memories do you have when Dick Vermeil addressed the Eagles to get ready, the words of wisdom before your Super Bowl against Oakland?
You know, Mike, I think that the pregame speech is very important, especially the speech the night before the game. And Dick Vermeil was an outstanding speech maker. He eventually did win a Super Bowl with the St. Louis Rams. But the night before our game in Super Bowl 15, Woody Hayes addressed the football team, the legendary Woody Hayes, and made a passion speech, a terrific speech. Dick Vermeil followed that speech up with his own speech, that when we return back to this room in New Orleans, we would be the world champions tomorrow night. This is the night before the Super Bowl. We felt very confident. Just like the two teams, the Saints, the Colts will come on this field shortly. They believe they're going to be the world champions. That's how we felt. Unfortunately, it didn't come true, but certainly it was because of the efforts of Dick Vermeil and Woody Hayes to get us motivated.
What words did you give your guys?
Well, I just told the Tampa Bay Buccaneers we are going to be the world champion today. So nobody's prepared themselves better, nobody's worked harder, and nobody's better than us. And nobody's getting in our way either. So go outside and take them to my Uncle Elmer's woodshed, beat them up mentally and physically, get it done, and let's get out of here with a win.
You and Ditka very much alike, by the way. He settled down. Let's go to Trent Dilfer and some of our other Super Bowl winners over at the beach. Trent, what words do you remember from what Brian Billick told you guys before the Baltimore Super Bowl win?
You know, I don't remember many words from Coach Billick, and I don't want to take away from his impact, but we had giant personalities on that football team that had electric auras to them. Your Rod Woodsons, your Ray Lewis, Shannon Sharp, Tony Saragusa. Guys that just carried themselves in a way that you didn't need any pregame speech. There was moral authority in that locker room, like Steve likes to talk about. And it was the subtle glances, those confident stares, Steve, that I know Coach Billick didn't want to take anything away from that atmosphere that's created in our locker room.
Oh, we talk about the sheriff in the locker room. Ronnie Lott ran our locker room, and he a lot of times made the speech. He made a great speech before the Super Bowl one year and said, you know what, no one respects anyone who's not a champion. Nobody. You get nothing. No respect unless you are a champion. So let's go get some respect. And I think, you know, just simple stuff like that really does make it really matters at those times, Teddy.
Yeah, Steve, Jaws talked about the night before the Super Bowl, and that's when I got my most memorable Super Bowl speech from our defensive coordinator, Romeo Cornell. And he used visual aids, actually. He showed us the 1996 AFC Championship ring. He brought it out, and he said, men, this is what you've earned. This is what you've earned up to this point. Congratulations. But there's more work to be done. There's more work to be done, and you have to go out there and get the job done, because look, this is what you get if you win. And he showed a Super Bowl ring from the year previous. This is before our Super Bowl versus the Philadelphia Eagles, and that's all the players needed to see. The thing that symbolizes the world championship, the Super Bowl ring. That's what you're playing for. There's a difference between first place and second place. Go out there and finish the job and have that one symbol all of you can show for the rest of your lives, because, Mike, once you have that ring, you've earned that ring. No one can ever take it from you.
It's the one day a year that diamonds are a man's best friend. Big Monday tomorrow night. There's a great week of college basketball, rivalry week. Villanova and West Virginia in the loaded Big East, followed by #1 Kansas in Austin to take on Texas. Big Monday starts 7 Eastern after Sports Air tomorrow night on ESPN.
New Orleans is a city close to the Manning family's hearts.
I'm very proud of the Saints, and I'm glad they're doing good.
But see how Big Easy natives must put aside their love for the Mannings as the Saints play for the ultimate prize. Plus, will the Saints end 43 years of frustration? Or will the Colts take home title number 3? Super Bowl game picks coming up.
Super Bowl Sunday, a day when dreams are realized and heroes are made. The New Orleans Saints have been on a collision course with the title game all season. Can Drew Brees finally take them to the promised land? Or will four-time MVP Peyton Manning and the Indianapolis Colts claim yet another Super Bowl championship? It's the greatest spectacle in American sport. Super Bowl 44, live from Sun Life Stadium in Miami, Florida. Coverage starts next, live on ESPN America.
Welcome back to a special Super Bowl edition of Sunday NFL Countdown, presented by IBM.
After we're done here on Super Bowl Countdown, ABC's got the Magic at the Celtics. Rajon Rondo. Celts warming up at home. You can turn over at 2 at the top of the hour for that. And you can turn over all afternoon, all evening, all night. It's Super Bowl 44, the 10th in Miami, and one between #1 seeds that is much anticipated. Peyton Manning is 60 minutes away from winning his second Super Bowl as a Colt. Eli Manning has won a Super Bowl as a Giant. Their dad, Archie, was a long way from winning one when he quarterbacked the Saints. But he and his sons will forever be revered in New Orleans. The Mannings are truly the first family of New Orleans, yet they stand between the Saints reaching the unreachable star. As ESPN.com's Greg Garber tells us, come kickoff, the city will be the big uneasy.
My name is Peyton, I'm 3 years old.
All right, go get him, Peyton. Hey, who's your favorite football player, then?
My dad.
Your dad's your favorite football player, too? Well, you're on the right track. You're going to be a football player, grow up?
Long before Peyton and Eli Manning won back-to-back Super Bowls, there was Elijah Archibald Manning III.
Archie had the misfortune of playing with one of the worst franchises in history, and somehow he always held his head high, whether he was being sacked 4 times, 8 times, 12 times.
I said, Archie, what is the most times you were sacked in one game? And Archie's thinking, and before he could answer the question, Peyton, who was a little kid at the time, said 12. Peyton knew the record on how many times his dad had been sacked.
As the New Orleans Saints quarterback, Archie was often on the ground. In 12 seasons, he produced only 35 wins and 91 losses.
He really loved the city. He embraced the city embraced him back. And I think he was never really blamed for the horrible seasons the Saints had.
When Archie's career ended, his time in New Orleans did not. He and his wife Olivia raised their 3 sons, Cooper, Peyton, and Eli, in the city's Garden District.
I really love the city, love everything that New Orleans has to offer. Had a great experience growing up and very proud for where I come from.
They were an athletic family. There was no arrogance about them. They were just plain folk, blessed with great talent.
The Manning brothers attended Isidore Newman School. Peyton still holds the record for passing yardage there. Eli is 3rd on that list.
When you talk about New Orleans, you're talking about the Manning family. They never forget where they came from or where they're going.
The Colts are world champions!
When Peyton was able to win it, it wasn't just
a Manning. It wasn't just a Colt. It was a true New Orleanian winning the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl MVP. And I think there was a real sense of pride around the entire city when he did it.
Despite the Saints standing in the way of his second Super Bowl title, Peyton, a lifelong Saints fan, still feels the pull of his hometown.
It's a special place to me. You know, I enjoyed watching their game last week, seeing the French Quarter, seeing it empty in the third quarter, and then seeing after the game. I certainly felt that emotion.
Who that? We going to Miami, baby.
I'm with the Colts. That's my son there. You know, I'll be pulling for him. I'll be pulling for the Colts. But I'm very proud of the Saints.
Archie's pulling naturally for his son, and Peyton wants to win in the worst way. If the Colts lose, Peyton would rather lose to the Saints than anyone.
Peyton and Eli have each won a Super Bowl. Some in New Orleans feel a Saints victory would honor the father.
All of those poor, desperate years are going to be vanquished with this win. We owe it to Archie.
Knowing what this city's been through, I would love to see the New Orleans Saints win the Super Bowl and Peyton Manning win the Super Bowl MVP if at all possible. That would be a wonderful day.
All right, Garbs, thank you very much. Well, that says it all. Now, if Peyton wins, again, there's an if, he'll be one of now 11 Super Bowl quarterbacks that have multiple Super Bowl wins. And if he joins that group, he would have the most career touchdown passes of that group. And as far as yards passed, he would trail only John Elway if Peyton Manning wins the game tonight, against a team from which he grew up in. Very interesting. What, now we talk Peyton Manning's legacy, and he would want to deflect it all, Jaws, and say, wait a minute, it's the Colts, but what would a win tonight in the Super Bowl, 2 for him, 2 for his Colts, what would that mean to his legacy, Jaws?
You know, Boomer, what I believe, when all is said and done, Peyton Manning will be regarded as the greatest quarterback ever. I mean, if he wins this Super Bowl, I think he'll win more, and if he could stay healthy. Now, Coach Gruden has nicknamed him the Sheriff. I think he's the alien, because no one is playing quarterback on this planet like it's ever been played before. And the beautiful thing about Peyton Manning, we all see the big things that he does. It's the little things like going and visit Anthony Gonzalez at Ohio State, visiting Pierre Garçon, when they couldn't come to Indianapolis for the off-season workouts because their collegiate class had not graduated. Those are the little things great quarterbacks do, champions do. They show that kind of leadership, John.
Well, Peyton Manning's the best quarterback I've ever seen. And I'll just be honest, Steve Young, I call him the Sheriff just to remind Jaws I don't think he can carry his holster.
Well, Coach, I'm surprised to hear you say that after watching Joe Montana play and others. I really believe that the title of greatest player ever is going to be something that's just going to be a fun place to argue, but there is a place where people enter that elite status. All the naysayers that I saw are still holding on to remnants of Peyton Manning's greatness fell away this year. I think a Super Bowl would be great. He'd enter that multiple Super Bowl elite group, but the fact is that he is now in the discussion about who the greatest quarterbacks of all time are. Today, he can make an incremental step towards some other group of people he could be joined with, but once you get into that discussion of the greatest of all time, you're there. You're a made man in the mafia. I think it's all gravy from this point. Doesn't mean he doesn't want it. Doesn't mean it doesn't make a big difference, but it's not a big enough difference to take him from that elite status.
And imagine a table with the best quarterbacks in the history of the game. You'll have Montana, the Aikmans. They will all have multiple championships. There's an empty seat there right now. It's waiting for Peyton Manning. I don't think he could sit in that seat until he has multiple championships to match those other great quarterbacks.
Well, I think he has to win this one and another one. Not for us to call him the greatest quarterback of all time, because I think he needs it. I believe he's chasing Tom Brady. These guys have been peers. Their careers are married to each other, Tommy. And I know the hyper-competitive nature of a quarterback in the National Football League. You don't want the other guy to be better than you. And I think Peyton Manning is chasing Tom Brady.
You know, Trent, I talked earlier about that perfect storm, and I think when you look at the heritage, you look at his bloodlines, so that's the history of the football league and how he looks at that. Look at the numbers, where they stand now after 12 years, and I agree, he needs multiple championships, not only this one, but more to come, but I think he's got the time to do it. I think at the end of his career, the numbers are going to bear it out, the championships are going to bear it out, and he will be known, I believe, as the greatest guy to ever take a snap in the National Football League.
Well, Tommy, there's a committee that ultimately will judge him, and I don't want to ever be on a committee like that, because what I think about Peyton Manning is more what his peers say. When you have someone like Steve Young and Dilfer, guys who have won the Super Bowl, what they say about playing the quarterback position. No, they're no novice at it. Now, as far as winning the Super Bowl and that being important, when these quarterbacks speak of the importance of it, you have to listen to that. Peyton Manning has to be able to win Super Bowls to be the best ever. Joe Montana won 4. Now, you guys talking about 1 or 2? You don't even start that discussion. Let him get 2 and working on 3.
Well, I think you start by saying before he even won his first Super Bowl, it was all about the statistics. Oh, will he ever win? It's going to be about his numbers, that sort of thing. Then he won his first Super Bowl. So now if he wins another Super Bowl, you start that discussion about the greatest ever could he be based on longevity. We all know numbers in longevity, Boom. The longer you play, the better numbers you play. I mean, the better numbers you get. You've been around the game, you've been around the game, you've been around the game. We all been around this game. There's only one player in my short time in the NFL. There's one position, one guy, Jerry Rice, that I can clearly say was the best ever at his position. Ever.
He's pretty good.
Well, I don't think there's one. You can never say anybody's the greatest at anything. I say one thing. This man changed the face of that franchise. That's the thing. They go to 2 Super Bowls because of him. Nobody else could have taken that franchise where he took it. Now, I don't know what that means.
You know what? I think back now to 1998 when the Colts had the first draft pick. And there was a legitimate debate. Is it Peyton Manning or is it Ryan Leaf? It sounds stupid to say now, but that's the way it was. And I wonder if how many things would have changed had Bill Polian not been smart enough, and a full week before, by the way, he knew it, that it would be Peyton Manning. Would Peyton have a great career? Yeah, but not there. Would the Colts be in L.A.? Who knows? Would Bill Polian stay with the Colts? No way. You can go on a 17 quarterbacks started for the Colts since they traded away, as the Baltimore Colts, John Elway with the #1 pick. Peyton Manning was the 18th. Interesting, that's the number he wears. And since that time, going into tonight, he's now played 210 straight games. Pretty interesting how it all kind of works out as Peyton Manning's legacy maybe takes a turn for the even better. Now to a team report, a final report for both. Susie Colbert, of course, is with the Colts. But we get to start with Ed Werder with the Saints, as long as your lead-in isn't too long.
Appreciate it, Boomer. Hey, Coach Sean Payton and quarterback Drew Brees have been remarkable, unbeatable when having more than a week to prepare for an opponent this season. Saints 3-0 in those situations with additional time to game plan and practice. Even more impressive, they've scored at least 45 points in all of those games, beating the Lions, Giants, and Cardinals by an average score 46-23. For final report on the Colts, here's Susie Colbert.
Ed Jim Caldwell's mantra for the week, keep it the same. They stayed at the same hotel, they moved to the same hideaway hotel. Caldwell delivered the same type of speech, just 3 words to inspire his team. But something's going to be different. When they get to the stadium, they'll be in a different locker room than they were 3 years ago, because now they're the home team, which means they'll also be wearing home blues. Chris, remember, 3 years ago they won in white.
Yes, I remember they won their other Super Bowl in white, Susie, but they did win one of their 2 Baltimore Colt championships in blue, 1959. Lifeguards. Oh, they're digging up our picks on the beach and going to deliver them. We picked the game when we return.
You can't describe the feeling of what it's like going on the field for the first time.
The electricity in the air is just unbelievable. So, I mean, it's something that I'll never forget.
You're just so overwhelmed with emotions.
Well, we've had a lot of fun, but now comes reckoning time. Who's to win Super Bowl 44? We have the picks being run up from the beach, and while our picks get here, we want to say thanks to our Monday Night Triumvirate of the coach, of Jaws, and of course, Mike Tirico. Good being with you guys. Kick it off, fellas. What do you think?
Great hanging with you guys, Boomer. We came on the air about 5 hours ago for SportsCenter. I told you it was a windy day here. The winds are subsiding. They're supposed to subside to about 8 or 9 miles per hour during the game that will be officiated, led by an all-star crew. Referee Scott Green working his first Super Bowl as a ref, his third Super Bowl overall. Was a back judge before. Pick the game.
All right, my friends over at Reebok, Kurt Evans. I got the official locker room hat that will be distributed to the winning team after the game, and is going to be the New Orleans Saints 31-30. Watch out for Robert Meacham. Big game today.
I have the Saints 30-27. Too much, too often. New Orleans.
Do you have anybody to thank? Any friends you need to mention, like Jaws?
Well, you're very short and sweet today, John.
34-26 Colts. My heart and emotions are with the Saints after experiencing their whole Katrina return. It would be a special and an unbelievable story, but you never go against the best on the field. Peyton Manning's the best in the league. I like the Colts by 8. Great hanging with my Monday night buddies, and great hanging with you, Boomer, and everybody else.
All right, Michael, thank you so much. And here come the picks. They're being run in. And I mean run. I mean, these guys are running. Good job, guys. Thank you very much, and a happy Super Bowl Sunday.
Is that ours?
All right, well, let's see. I have in my hand the final envelope. Tom, it's got sand on it, so I know it's true.
Sure it does.
All right, Tom, that's you.
Thank you.
Go ahead. What do we got?
I've got it at 35-24 Colts for the team that didn't lose a game this year. Not a real game. I hesitate to make that pick in the midst of all these Saints fans.
Tommy from behind your back, I'm going with the Colts. 31-27. Peyton Manning finishes a great season.
I'm going to switch it up and roll with my Saints and Drew Brees. 35-28 over them. Go, baby.
Well, I agree. Peyton Manning had a great season. He'll probably have a great game. But who that? Them Saints win the game 31-28.
I saw 2 great Monday night games in the Dome this year. I saw Sean Payton and Drew Brees literally carve up some of the best coach teams, including the Patriots, in the league. I say they do it again today. They've gone through the catharsis of the championship game and being too tight. Now, wouldn't you want to see that game? Is that not a Super Bowl?
It's a score.
That's a Super Bowl right there, boys.
That's not super defense.
That's a Super Bowl.
Every single game the Colts have wanted to win this year, they've won. They want to win this game.
Yes! They can want it all they want. This is going to be an all-day sucker. Sean Payton dialing up ball plays for Drew Brees. The New Orleans Saints, 35-31.
And the Colts, Coach Gruden almost changed my mind on this pick, but I am sticking with the Colts, 37-31. For the third year in 4 years, a Manning will win the Super Bowl. They might as well rename the Lombardi Trophy the Manning Trophy. Colts, 34-24.
Now, I understand that Madame Marie Laveau has got all things worked out here. I understand that the greatest postseason kicker of all time, Adam Vinatieri, is going to be a healthy scratch. However, I also remember a game Joe Montana had in New Orleans. And I just wonder, as great as the Saints are going to be, if this is Peyton Manning's time to have a game like that. I've got the Colts by 10 with my apologies.
Oh, no,
it's a
Saints
wonderful
win.
story. The Saints. So we do it.
Saints win! Saints win! Saints win!
See you on prime time. Enjoy the Super Bowl. To all the guys here, we had a blast.
Get hot,
Look at Boomer.
ESPN America, your home for live NFL.
Buddy.